derp. Here's some quotes from Tyrese. Quote, it's funny. By the way, again, whenever anybody says it's funny, it is not funny at all, especially if you're married to them. The other day, I was just writing down regrets.
Regrets.
Easy there, Jay.
Good job, Dave. Regrets I have in my life, unfulfilled expectations, and resentments. And the only resentment I could come up with in my life right now is the Sacramento Kings.
Ouch.
And it's like, I don't want to hold on to that. If I'm being completely honest, that trade has been such a blessing for me. It's so easy now to look at it that way, but it's a complete blessing for me to be in the situation that I'm in, to have the ability to showcase what I can do and play my natural position. I think for the rest of my career, that trade's in my head, right? I think the great ones take little things, negative things, and run with them. It's funny. Again, not funny. When I do things well, people are always like, look what the Kings did. I love that stuff. That's what I love. My whole life, I just love proving people wrong. Everything I do, I just want it to be like, look at what the Kings did. He's effectively saying, obviously, I want to spend the rest of my career making the Kings regret ever trading me, making Kings fans furious that I was traded.
Well, I think we knew one thing from the beginning, at least from Tyrese's side of things. It hurt him.
Yeah.
And I completely understand that. Yeah. I don't think Tyrese, until some of this, but I still don't think it's all there. I learned this early on when someone, I can't remember who it was with the Kings, was telling me like they were hurt. Same kind of thing when they got traded years and years ago. Mm-hmm. But then they finally flipped when they said, well, this team wanted me.
Right.
So the Pacers wanted him.
Yeah.
And I think he's still looking at it as like the Kings didn't want him. That's not the case.
Sure.
The Kings made a trade that they think made themselves better. I don't think Monty McNair woke up that day and go, you know what I want to do is I want to get rid of Tyrese Haliburton. Monty drafted
Hates him.
I think he's always liked him. I think if he could come back to the Kings, he would do it.
Sure.
But he got himself a young, proven center that will now be judged on Monty's resume, on Tyrese's resume, on Sabonis's resume, by us, by everybody. And they'll be able to, people will judge it the rest of time, I guess. But Haliburton has not gotten over that. Maybe that's healthy for him. At first, I didn't think it was.
Yeah.
Because it bothered him. And I understand that, but he's still talking about it.
Sure. A year and a half later, Jay.
Yeah.
Well, it's not quite a year and a half later.
Well, no, it's not even
6 months later.
Yeah, you're right.
I get it. Yeah. I get everything Jason said is correct. He was hurt, blah, 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 blah. They wanted me, blah, 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 blah. First thing, it's like, it can't be a blessing and you have resentment, dude. You're kind of contradicting yourself. It's a blessing because now I can play my natural position. So then you should have been happy to be traded out of Sacramento, number one. Number two, it's like, all right, dude, like I get it. If he's going to use this as personal motivation during the season, that's fine. But why are you still talking about it in the media? Why are we still doing this? Like, is he going to be doing this 5 years later, 10 years later? Because it feels like that right now.
They don't have Sabonis.
Yeah. And he might not even be in Indiana 4 years from now for all we know.
Sure.
I have never, it's just annoying at this point. The woe is me, they traded me is so annoying. I haven't had a former player come back to Sacramento. I can't even think of one that I hope the Kings I hope they maul Indiana this year.
Spencer Hawes?
No, more than Spencer Hawes. Like, I hope De'Aaron Fox puts up a 40 spot on Tyrese Haliburton.
Are you saying you dislike Tyrese Haliburton more than you ever disliked Spencer
No,
Hawes?
Spencer Hawes was more like, you're just a jerk. This is different. This is like the whiny. It's very, he's whining. And it's like, dude, you're like, you would have thought he's the first player in NBA history to be traded.
Yeah.
The amount of whining he's doing. I hope De'Aaron Fox puts 40 on him this year.
And I know Jay brought up a player before the show, which I think is a good case study for Kings. Like Jay Will, one of the most wildly popular Kings ever.
Sure.
Wasn't here that long.
No.
Tyrese is really popular.
Yes.
He was here just over a year.
Yeah.
And I feel like however long his career, hopefully he has a great career. But I think a lot of people will hang on to Tyrese being here.
I think so. And I think a lot of that depends on how Tyrese does.
How his career goes, how Sabonis' career goes, yeah.
I love it. I do. I love every part of it.
I think him talking about it?
I think he's 100% correct. He's being asked about it. And you've seen his feelings evolve. And this has been the most, at first it was shock, depression, Tyrese Haliburton came, again, we'll never know if the reports were truly, truly true. But you actually heard many reports that Tyrese Haliburton and his camp expressed that they wanted to be drafted by Sacramento.
Mm-hmm.
This is where they wanted to go. Nobody wants to be drafted by the Kings. Nobody wants to be drafted by the Kings. He's Monty McNair's first draft pick. He comes in. He's sharing time with, De'Aaron Fox. They're trying to make it work together. It doesn't work together. And, you can tell when he's saying things like, I get to play my natural position. That's a left hip check at, I should have been playing point guard back then. He gets traded to the Pacers a year after his rookie year, which is really early generally for somebody who's that good. And here's the thing. If Kobe Bryant had been traded, and I know he was traded from the Hornets, but if the Lakers had traded him 2 years in, if the Bulls had traded Michael Jordan 2 years in, look back at all these like GOAT greats.
Right.
Are you kidding me? Michael Jordan would have said at his Hall of Fame speech, he would have called out the Bulls for trading him.
That's Michael Jordan.
I understand that, but I'm saying it's a mentality, which is whether or not it's entirely true. I agree with you. They got a player they liked. But in Tyrese Haliburton's case, it's, I wanted to be there. That's basketball hell. I went there. I embraced the community. I got involved charity-wise. I embraced the foundation. I said, we're going to turn this franchise around. I put my heart and soul. I didn't just stay in Sacramento. That was my home, and I was ready to be there forever. And by the way, I did everything I was asked and then some. And you trade me? Okay, it's fair. You didn't break a law, but every single time I see you.
That's fine.
And by the way, there's no difference between this and Draymond Green and Amon-Ra St. Brown, being able to name every player that was drafted before them. It's the same mentality.
That's different than going out. If he would have been out there like, yeah, I'm going to beat the brakes off these guys every time I see them versus whining about it. Like my feelings are hurt.
What he's asked him. Players are cookie. I get so tired of this. Players give these cookie cutter Derek Carr answers all the time. And it's like, oh, they're robots. And then Tyrese has been like
but
open.
That's not what I'm advocating for.
Honest, but he's being asked a question. He's not going out and holding a press conference to talk about how the Kings are lame. He's being
he already did that when he got to Indiana.
If he does that, well, they call the PC. But if he does that, let's talk. They're asking him. He's answering. He has every right to want to kick the Kings in the neck.
Say that instead of whining that they traded me.
He's saying, you think he's doing this in 3 years?
I do. I think it's going to have the same effect. I think it's going to have the same timeline as LeBron answering questions about playing at Arco Arena where it all started.
Right.
Yeah.
20 years from now, Tyrese is a vet.
It'll be, it'll at some point.
Tyrese is on his 16th.
Tyrese will be
43
here, and they'll be like, hey, he's like, that faded a while ago. I mean, remember, too, this is a young kid who got dumped. He got dumped.
Is that what this is?
Well, that's
really?
how he's treating it.
He's treating it like he got dumped. And you know what? We can all personalize it. I'll personalize it. I don't have a press conference about it, but I have an ex-girlfriend I was in love with that dumped me a long time ago. It was the most devastating thing I've ever dealt with in my life to that point. All I wanted, I prayed to God and Jesus, please come back. I'll never love again.
You know what's the difference?
Huh.
You didn't have a multi-million-dollar contract to fall back on.
You know what? If I could add a press conference, I would. And now, by the way, I look at her life. I'm not going to lie. I look at her life, and I'm like, oh, God, thank you.
And that's going to be Tyrese Haliburton.
Thank you. Garth Brooks said some of God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers. And that's what I would say to Tyrese Haliburton, but he has the right to say what he has to say. Good for him. I respect it. Jay doesn't. Jay hates Tyrese Haliburton. This just in. Why don't you put that clip out there out of context, Jay?
You know what? I will make sure digital clips that up today and says, I'm the one who's tired of hearing him whine.
Yes. But then please put something in there where I'm like, I like it. Like, so
so you can be the hero.
Thank